Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Oh, and thank you for pointing out those links to the social media at ualr.edu/GSA for those of you who would like to follow further workshops. Well, welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here with two of my colleagues, Chloe Moses, who is the Graduate Enrollment Management Specialist for the Graduate School, who supervises the dissertation and thesis editing process, and Lydia Julian, who is not only the publicity officer for the GSA, but she is also one of the dissertation and thesis editors. And so Chloe, Lydia, and I are here to answer any of your questions, and we will be a team to support you as you work through your thesis and dissertation process. Now, one of the things that's important to us about this workshop, and that is better for you to be here doing this workshop than to just watch our videos, which quite frankly are posted in many places. I think we have several GSA videos of this workshop elsewhere, plus we have one on the grad school website. But the whole purpose of us doing this live is so that you can get your questions answered. So please feel free to use the chat. Chloe and Lydia will be helping me monitor the chat so that they can make sure that if I'm presenting something that I get attention to your questions. Feel free to raise your hand or to interject your comments at any point or to ask me to slow down because this workshop is no good if it does not get your questions answered. Okay. So I'm going to go over with you a few basics about the process of submitting your manuscript for formatting check first, and then we'll get into some technical details about how you get your manuscript to meet the requirements of this process. Now, let me preface all of this by saying to you first that the good news is there is no way for you to quote unquote fail thesis or dissertation formatting. So although it is kind of obnoxious that you have to do this formatting check before we allow you to submit your project to ProQuest, and indeed you must complete this process in order to get your diploma and your transcript for your degree. So it is not optional. But even if your manuscript has mistakes at the point that you submit it to us, we will send you corrections and you make the corrections, and then nothing that happens to you from this point on is going to keep you from graduating. It's not going to keep you from walking across the stage at commencement. It's not going to keep you from getting the degree, but you do need to follow this process in a timely way, because if you don't, you cannot get your diploma, you cannot get your transcripts. So be sure that when you receive an email, either from Lydia or Chloe or Daniela, who is our third editor, or myself regarding changes that need to be made, attend to those immediately. They are not optional changes. You do not get to argue with us about the changes. The changes are the changes. Get them done quickly, get them back up into ProQuest so that we can clear your dissertation or thesis hold. Okay, the first thing I'm going to share with you today is the web page where you can locate all the pieces of this process. Also, during this workshop, I'll be sharing handouts with you that I will give to Imral and Rebecca, and they'll be able to distribute to you. So you'll have all the resources that are here, and you don't have to worry about scrambling to take notes. Okay, so when you are getting ready to begin your formatting process, you need to first go to the graduate school website. And here you'll see the link for current students. This is where all our thesis and dissertation information is located. Click that link. And you'll notice the third thing down this little menu here is thesis and dissertation guidelines. Click that link. Okay. So here there are two important resources for you. Number one, here is a link to the current thesis and dissertation guidelines. These are the rules that you have to follow. Now I'm going to give you some handouts in this presentation that will be easier for you to follow, I think, than the full thesis and dissertation guidelines, which, as I recall, is about a 25-page PDF. I'm going to shrink that down for you to about 5 to 6 pages, so it'll be easier to follow. One thing that I do want to alert you about, and that you guys are the first workshop that I'm mentioning this to, if you are not graduating in spring or summer 2023. So if you think that you're going to graduate fall 2023 or later, it will be particularly important for you to come back and check these thesis and dissertation guidelines, because over the summer, we are going to revise the thesis and dissertation guidelines. We are going to modernize some of the presentation. We are going to create formats that will be available not only in Microsoft Word, but in LaTeX. So be aware that that is about to change. Is there anybody on the call who knows they are not graduating in spring 2023 or summer 2023? Okay, hearing none, then I'm assuming that graduation is extremely imminent, and within the next 4 weeks, you are going to be submitting a manuscript to us. Oh, there's a chat message. Okay, yeah, Rebecca, so this is sad because you've seen this workshop so many times that you probably know it really well, but this stuff is, some of this is not going to apply to you, but it will not apply in good ways. So the great news is that we're going to actually make some of the things that I'm about to show you easier, because what we've discovered is that some of the hardest parts of this process are mandated just by tradition at UA Little Rock and not by ProQuest, which is where we need to publish these things. So there are some things we're going to be able to simplify for you a little bit starting fall 2023.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, easier is always better, right? Okay, so this is the place that you check. Notice that there is an older version of this workshop, which you can watch here. By summer, we will make a new version of this recording and replace this so that the folks coming in the fall will have the most current information. As you continue to scroll, there are details about the thesis and dissertation final submission process. So let's go over a few of those. Okay, first of all, please notice that all manuscripts must be received by the graduate school by 5 p.m. on the format deadline set for your graduation term. And these dates are always the same every semester. So if you are graduating this semester, your deadline is May the 1st at 5 p.m. If you're graduating this summer, your deadline is August 1st at 5 p.m. and fall December 1st at 5 p.m. Now, on the rare occasions that one of these dates falls on a weekend, then the deadline gets extended to the following Monday. But none of you folks luck out on this one because they're all on weekdays this semester. And in fact, if it couldn't be any more obnoxious, May the 1st is a Monday. So you have no room for error getting this sucker in. It must be in at 5 p.m. on Monday or you cannot graduate. So please get those in a timely way. Please schedule your defenses with plenty of time so that you can get your manuscript to us by May the 1st. Now, be aware, let's say theoretically you could defend as late as May the 1st if you had to. As long as we have a manuscript by May the 1st, you're going to graduate. You may need to make changes to that manuscript, not only changes that we're going to suggest, but changes that your committee requires. We don't care. Send us the manuscript. Even if there are mistakes in it, even if your committee has asked you to change things, if you give it to us by May the 1st and you defended, doesn't do you any good to give it to us if you haven't defended. But if you've defended and you give it to us, then you will graduate, assuming you've met all the other requirements of your degree program. Okay. You will email your manuscript to us as a Word or a PDF document to gradtdreview@ualr.edu. You can just click this little link and it'll email it directly to us. My advice to you is submit it as a PDF, because the danger is, what if you formatted it in one version of Word and we open it in a different version of Word? Any of you who have any experience with Word knows all you have to do is look at a Word document cross-eyed for the formatting to mess up. So if you want to preserve it and have it be safe the way it looked on your computer, please save it as PDF before you send it to us. Now, the good thing about this whole PDF process is that, unlike in past years, the graduate school no longer requires students to have bound copies. I don't even think the programs anymore require bound copies, but if you're not sure, please check with your program coordinator. I know that some international students need to have bound copies, so I will talk briefly about this process. But for everyone, the most important link in your life after you send it to gradtdreview@ualr.edu is this one. This is where you submit it to ProQuest. And this is, for our purposes, the publishing process of your thesis and dissertation. ProQuest is an international database, and any institution that subscribes to it will then have a link to your project. So really, your project could be seen by anybody just around the world. So that's pretty exciting. Okay. If you want to have it bound, you're going to have to print off copies. I know this is super obnoxious, but for whatever reason, our bindery cannot take PDFs and print them for you. So you have to print off the copies. You need your margin for a bound copy to be bigger than your one that you upload to ProQuest. So for ProQuest, margin should be 1 inch all the way around. For binding, margin on the left should be 1.5 inches because that leaves room for the binding crimp. So you print off your copies, you go to the cashier's office, and you're going to pay about $28 a copy to get your stuff bound through UA Little Rock. Okay, once you pay, you do the printout, you pay for the binding, you bring your physical manuscript and your receipt to the graduate school on the 5th floor of the library, or you ship it to us, and we will send it away to get it bound. Now, this is not the only way that you can get it bound, and I will warn you that there can be time delays in the binding. So advantages of binding it through UA Little Rock is that it's super cheap. $28 a copy is not bad. Disadvantages are they won't let us send the manuscripts to them until we have at least 5 of them. And so that means if you submit your manuscript, but we don't have 5, we have to hang on to it because they're going to charge us $120+ regardless of how many we send. So we need to send, we can't go into debt for it. We need to be able to send the right number that matches the price that they're going to charge us for the binding. So if you do want to use this process, you bring it to us, we send it away for binding. You don't have to pay for any of the shipping, and we will notify you when the physical copy is ready to pick up at our office. So you'll get an email from Chloe at that point saying, hi, we've received the bound copy of your dissertation or thesis. Please drop by our office during business hours to come get it. Or if you need to be after business hours, let us know. And I'm frequently around the office after business hours, and I'm happy to hang on to it and meet you. But you can also use any other bindery if you want to, because UA Little Rock does not care whether you bind it or not. So if you can find another place that will do it faster, by all means, you're welcome to have it bound yourself and not go through our process. But you probably won't be able to find it cheaper than what we're able to do. Okay, are there any questions about submitting it to us for the check, submitting it to ProQuest after the check, and then if you want to get it bound? Okay, hearing no questions, let's move on. Going to stop this share, and I'm going to share a PDF with you now that you can also get from the GSA. Okay, so this little PDF covers the same things that are on that website that we already discussed. Here are specific details reminding you once again, as long as you get it in by the date, you will still graduate. For which reason, let me just say to you now, do not be sending spicy emails to Chloe or Lydia, getting upset about where your project is, especially if you just sent it to us earlier in the day or the day before. It's going to take us anywhere from 48 hours to a couple of weeks. If you're really lucky, we turn it around fast. If we have a ton of them, it could take us a couple of weeks. And again, it does not matter. Is there somebody unmuted? Oh, there we go. Okay. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So we take longer the closer you are to the deadline. So like right now, we can turn stuff around fast because hardly anybody is submitting things to us. On May the 1st, half the planet is going to be submitting to us. And so realistically expect that if you submit it to us on May the 1st, it might take us a couple of weeks to get it back to you. You'll still get to go through commencement, but pay attention to your email. Don't forget about it because we need to get those changes back to you and you need to get them done. Okay, I've included in this the link to upload your manuscript. One thing for you to be aware of is that once it goes into ProQuest, it's not all free after that point. So we're going to go back into ProQuest and check to make sure you really did make the changes. And not only that, but your chair is going to check and make sure that you made the changes that the committee asked. So both of us have to approve it. Once you upload it to ProQuest, it would be in your best interest to let your chair know that you have done so that the chair can clear it. Every now and again, we have delays because the chair forgets to let us know that it's okay to go forward. All right. And then finally, it used to be true in the past that your diploma arrived 4 to 6 weeks after your commencement ceremony. The good news is that now records and registration is getting so fast, it might be closer to 2 to 3 weeks, assuming you have made your changes and that we can mail you your diploma. Please make sure that your mailing address is correct in BOSS so that you will actually get your diploma. And then here's the stuff about the binding. All right. Final preliminary stuff. In some programs, particularly in the DC STEM College, sometimes your advisor may tell you that they would like for you to hire an editor to help you with your sentence level editing, including grammar and punctuation and formatting. So if and only if your advisor says this is okay, then here's some contact information of people that you may ask to be your editor. Be aware of these things. Editors are freelance professionals. They are not employed by the university. You are responsible for contacting the editors, informing them of your deadlines and paying their rates. They may ask to see your manuscript before they can quote you a rate because they need to get a sense of how much work it's going to take for them. They may decline to serve as your editor if they do not believe they complete the work prior to your deadline. So just because you send it to them does not necessarily mean that you can hire them, and you are responsible for whatever rate they quote you. So there are several editors who are great if what you mainly need is grammar, spelling, punctuation, and formatting. I particularly recommend Dr. Mia Phillips. She is a professional who has worked at UA Little Rock for many years and now no longer works for the university. There's no better hands than you could be in editing wise than with Dr. Phillips. There's also Ms. Teddy Johnson, Mr. Paul Bennett, and Ms. Claudia Clark, all of whom are up to date on the requirements for thesis and dissertation formatting. Okay. We also have 2 editors who can help if you're, actually, we've got a 3rd editor. I need to update this, this handout. We have 3 editors who are available if you need help that is more extensive than grammar, spelling, punctuation, and formatting, like if you're not sure how to organize your data, if you're not sure how to explain your concepts in English. We have some writers with science background who are equipped to help you with that. Ms. King, Ms. DeWall, and I need to add Ms. Lockard to this. Okay. Any questions about the kinds of help or deadlines that apply to you for the thesis and dissertation process? Okay, hearing none, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the formatting itself. Okay, so there are two things that I'm about to share with you here. The first thing that I'm going to share is the condensed version of the formatting instructions. This takes the material from the PDF that's about 25 pages and knocks it down to about 7. So let me show you that real quick. Not that screen. I guess we're going to start here and go here. Okay. So all of you will get a chance to have a copy of this, which is formatting your thesis or dissertation in Microsoft Word. It has easy steps labeled for you, which I'm going to talk you through in this workshop, and screenshots so that you can see exactly where to go inside Microsoft Word. Now, I do not have Macs, but if you're using Word, the process is pretty similar. If you're using things that are not Word, like Google Docs or LaTeX, until we get tutorial videos and templates for those, what you'll need to do is apply the principles from this workshop to those different formats. Just going to warn you up front, though, this is easier in Word, just because like Word was made for this kind of thing. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to share with you is this little Word template. So oh shoot, screwed that up. Come back. Here it is. Okay, so this little Word template has places where you can type in some of your information and you don't have to worry about how far apart is it. You don't have to guess what that spacing is. But the reason we're having this workshop is people can still screw things up in this template just because they fill out the template wrong. Also notice the template is set up for binding, because here we have a margin that's 1.5 inches on the left. Should probably put up a new version that is just 1 inch all the way around. But we're going to talk our way through this one. So everybody will have this, and then you can fill in your own information accordingly. Let's go back to the other handout briefly. Okay, so I just talked you through step 1, which is setting your margins. Super easy if you're not having it bound. Most Word documents are set to be 1 inch all the way around regardless. And then once you go to get it print, you'll need to change it to 1.5 on the left. Okay, step 2. In the thesis and dissertation PDF on our website, this section is huge. Like there's literally a table that takes up an entire page trying to explain to you what I'm going to try to explain to you in this one little condensed graphic. The hardest part of thesis and dissertation formatting is the page numbering, and remembering that there are basically 3 divisions of page numbers in your format. Number 1, some pages do not have numbers. Number 2, some pages have numbers, but they're little Roman numerals and they're down in the center. And 3rd, some pages have numbers, but they're Arabic numerals and they're up in the corner. This, my friends, is what we're going to change over the fall, because it is crazy taking these little Roman numerals in the center and changing them to Arabic numerals in the top corner. So we're going to simplify that process a little bit. But sadly, those of you graduating in spring and summer 23, this is still your guide. So we're going to show you how to do this. All right, I'm going to show you the cheap and easy way to see which pages need numbers and which pages don't need numbers and which pages need which kinds of numbers. Okay, so you're going to create your front matter, which is everything that comes before where your first chapter starts. Okay, so, and notice there is a division here. Everything above the dotted line, no numbers. Everything below the dotted line, little Roman numerals in the center. Okay, is that clear? Above the line, no numbers. Below the line, little Roman numerals. Okay, the things that are bolded are the things that everybody is required to have in a thesis or dissertation. all of you must have a title page, a copyright page, a signature page, which ironically, when you're uploading to ProQuest, you won't actually sign, a fair use and duplication release, an abstract, and a table of contents. So theoretically, if this is all you have in your project, the only one that might have page numbers would be the table of contents and the little Roman numerals. Dedication is optional. Acknowledgements is optional. Protocol approval statement does have to be there, but only if you had a protocol approval, which means did you submit it to IRB because you have human subjects research, or to animal research, or biohazardous materials. So there are 3 different protocols you could submit. If you have any of those, that protocol approval statement must be in there, and it is the last page before your table of contents. It gets no numbers. Now, some of you have very visually complex projects. So everybody has to have a table of contents, but if you have pictures or illustrations or charts, those go in a list of figures. It's like a table of contents just for your graphics. If you have tables, they get their own list. If you have symbols, equations, abbreviations, or any other nomenclature, it gets its own page. And then you have an optional preface. You probably will not. Almost nobody puts a preface in anymore, but I'm required to mention it just in case you decide to have one. Some people have asked me, what is the difference between the dedication and the acknowledgements? The dedication is you saying a personal thank you to somebody who has helped you through this project, or somebody in whose memory you wish to dedicate the project. Your acknowledgement section is a formal professional thank you to people like your committee members, people who may have given you equipment, any sponsors of the research, anyone on campus who gave you assistance. So that's the difference. Dedication, purely personal, acknowledgements, professional thank yous. Okay, any questions about any of these things? Okay, so I'm going to show you first how to fill out this initial information that everybody is required to have. Then we're going to go to, then counterintuitively, we're going to do step 3, format your thesis text, before we come back and do the table of contents. And you may be like, well, what do you mean format my thesis text before I do the table of contents? The table of contents is first. I'm going to show you a trick that will make making your table of contents so freaking easy and save you insane amounts of time if you will do it in the order that I show it to you. There are other ways you can do it, but this is the best way. Okay, let's go back to the Word document. Okay. So we're going to start filling out this first page. And we're going to type the complete title of your document here in all caps. This is where you put the title of your thesis or dissertation. I'm going to pretend for the purposes of this demonstration that I'm writing a dissertation, and I'm going to turn my caps lock on and type my title. Okay, there's my title. All right, and this next little box, if it's a thesis, you get to leave it alone. If it's a dissertation, make sure that you change the word thesis to dissertation. Oh, and make sure and turn off your cap locks and make sure the first letter is capitalized. Okay, so notice that you want to pay attention to the formatting that's around it. So in this particular case, since all of the first letters are getting capitalized, this also gets capitalized. This you get to leave alone. In partial fulfillments of requirements for the degree of, okay, here is where you're going to put the type of degree. So let's pretend that you're getting a PhD. Again, I'm going to turn my cap locks on. Your degree is Doctor of Philosophy. You don't put anything else there, just Doctor of Philosophy. And then the program that you're in. So let's say theoretically, criminal justice, oops, take the cap lock off. Since they have a PhD program. Okay, now in the case of criminal justice, the department name is the same as the degree name. And it's in the College of Business, Health, and Human Services. Okay, so you're going to fill out that line one of three ways, right? Because there are three colleges. It's going to be either the College of Humanities, Arts, Social Science, and Education, or the College of Business, Health, and Human Services, or the Donahue College of, yes, sir. Oh, no, it's okay. The Donahue College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Sorry, our colleges have changed names like several times in the past 3 years. So yes, the Donahue College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, also abbreviated DC STEM, but you need to write it out. Okay, when might this be different? Well, for example, students in the program that I teach in, the Professional and Technical Writing MA program, they write out Master of Arts in the name of the degree, not the department, in professional cap lock. In the Department of Rhetoric and Writing, in the College of Humanities, Arts, Social Sciences, and Education. Okay, and just a heads up to Chloe and Lydia, one of the things you'll need to check is make sure they get their actual program and their college right, because like it could look right, but did they actually pick the right name? Now, you students on the call, if you're not sure how this should be listed, ask your program coordinator or ask your advisor or look at other examples that were produced recently. Don't go back more than a year or two though, because otherwise their formatting might be different. So I'm going to take this back to what it was. Okay. Okay, here, wherever you see italics in the template, that means fill this in. So you do not actually want this in italics and you don't want to leave the brackets. So I'm going to turn that back to regular text. Okay, you're going to type the month and year of graduation. That is the time that you submitted the thesis. So I don't care what month you actually defended in. What I care is what month are you graduating in. So those of you graduating this spring, the answer to this is May 2023. That's all there is. There's nothing else. For those of you in the summer, it's August 2023. And those of you in the fall, December 2023. Type your full name as it appears in university records with no italics. This means type it the way that it appears in BOSS. And since BOSS has all three of my names, I have to type all three of my names. We are mighty close to the deadline for those of you who are graduating in the spring, so I'm not sure that you could get a name change in time if you wanted to change it at this point. But for those of you graduating in the summer and the fall, if you want a different name to appear, then you need to change it in BOSS, and you do have time to submit a name change request to get that done. Okay, last but not least on this front page, you're going to type the previous degrees, awarding institutions, and conferral years here. Again, with no italics. So this is where, oh, and hey, why don't we center that? You can abbreviate the degree simply like that in English. Okay, more degrees. Or however many degrees you want to list here. And that is the end of the first page. Do you have any questions about filling out that first page? Please note that if you are an international student and you got one of your previous degrees outside the United States, you might want to add the city and the state where that institution is located here, but that's the only thing you add. Okay, let's move on to the copyright page. One of the easiest pages that you're going to fill out. Your name as it appears in university records. And you can just copy and paste it right over from the other page. And the year of your degree, 2023. Like so. That one's pretty hard to screw up. This page, by contrast, is easy to screw up. This is probably next to the page numbering, the most challenging page to fill out, because you need to put the right names in here and you need to put them in the right format. And if you don't pay attention, it's easy to put wrong names and wrong formats. Okay, so this thesis, you're going to have the title of your thesis again here, and notice this time, no all caps. And again, your full name as it appears in university records. There are times when I really hate Word. There we go. All right, here's the hard part. So unless your program requires you to get physical signatures, you're not actually going to put anybody's physical signature here. And the reason is that we don't want people's physical signatures in ProQuest. ProQuest, as I said, is an international database that half the planet can access, and having people's real signatures would create identity theft issues. So what you're going to do first is you're going to first list your advisor. Okay, by the way, if this is a dissertation, please change this to dissertation. Okay, and you're going to put the person who was your advisor or the chair of your dissertation committee. So since we're pretending this is a criminal justice committee, we'll put Robert Lytle. Okay, so notice under here it says, for example, Bob Smith. What this is trying to show you is that you only put the person's first and last name. You don't put Dr. Robert Lytle. You don't put Robert Lytle, PhD. It's just Robert Lytle. And then we take that away. Okay, the next it asks for his academic rank and department. Okay, I'm going to guess, but I'm pretty sure I think he's an associate professor. Is that true, Trey?
Yes, associate professor and graduate coordinator.
Okay, but you do not list graduate coordinator here. You only list the academic rank.
Good to know.
Yep, so here we're going to list a associate professor of criminal justice, and we're going to take this away. Okay, so yeah, so Trey just brought up the thing that is the most confused thing, is that people want to put people's job titles instead of their academic rank. So for example, if I put in Joyce Carter, for example, somebody might type under her name, chair of rhetoric and writing. But we don't care that she's the chair of rhetoric and writing. The only thing that we care is that she is professor of rhetoric and writing. She's a full professor, so you just say professor. So you need to make sure that you get that right. So now we're going to pretend that Dr. Tim Bensel is on this committee. So again, notice just her name. Make sure that you spell their names correctly. There's nothing more embarrassing than misspelling the names of your committee members. Make sure that you capitalize their names the way they prefer to be capitalized. And Trey, is Dr. Tim Menzel a full professor yet?
Yes, she's a full professor.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, so notice for her that we just do, even though I think she is now the department chair. Okay, so that covers what you do with faculty members who are actually here at UA Little Rock. Let's now imagine that you have a faculty member on your committee who isn't at UA Little Rock, and let's start by imagining that they're actually at another institution. So I'm going to say, let's imagine that somebody named Roberto Rodriguez, who is a professor of criminal justice at Georgia Tech. Notice that we have to add the Georgia Tech part. So if we don't list an institution, it's assumed they belong to UA Little Rock. If we do list an institution, if they're somewhere else, we have to mention that. And if you have them at an international institution, again, appropriate to maybe add their city and country that that's located in. All right, let's cover one more option, which is, what if they are not a faculty member anywhere? Let's say they're a professional in the community. So let's say that Regina Carter was on your committee, and she doesn't have an academic rank or department. This is the exception. This is where you use the job title. So now I actually have to look up her job title. Associate Vice Chancellor of Public Safety. Okay, and she actually, as it turns out, works at UA Little Rock, but because she's not faculty, we have to type that out. Okay. All right, now notice that even though, oh, again, if this is a dissertation, make sure you change this to dissertation. Now notice that there is a place for the program coordinator, and you may be like, but Dr. Lytle is the program coordinator. Why, yes, he is, and that means that we list him twice. So I'm going to just literally copy and paste him in here. And we do the same thing. Notice we don't have to say he's the program coordinator because this little title over here tells us that he is. And then the last thing is the graduate dean. This is filled in for you. You do not have to touch it. Brian Berry, Associate Professor of Chemistry. Do not change this. That's the only thing that that should say. All right, does anybody have committee members who do not fit one of these patterns? Okay, if you have questions or if you add committee members later and you need help, you can always ask me, Chloe, or Lydia, and you can always check with your advisor for your project. Okay, that is the end of the signature page. Let's do another easy page, the fair use and duplication page. So fair use, this thesis, or in this particular case, change it to dissertation. Then all of that stays the same. Then you need to decide whether or not you want to allow the library to give somebody a hard copy of your project. I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, what difference does it make? But you have the right to authorize that or refuse it. If you authorize it, then just erase out these lines. You don't need to sign it. Same reason this is going to ProQuest, so you don't want your signature on it. Just delete like so. Or if for any reason you want to refuse it, then delete the other stuff. So do that. And do that. And then bring that up there. Okay. Any questions about that page? All right, let's move on. Okay, so now we get to the abstract page. And the abstract page is extremely important in terms of how people are going to find your project in ProQuest. So ProQuest is going to take this and enter this into their database, so you know people will type in keywords for projects that they're looking for. Your abstract should have all the keywords that are relevant to your project in the summary, and it should ideally summarize your entire project. Now, the good news, one thing we recently researched in ProQuest, you'll notice that in the little filler text here, it says abstracts for dissertations can't exceed 350 words and abstracts for theses cannot exceed 150 words. That is not true. ProQuest will let you do any size abstract you want. I encourage you to err on the side of being comprehensive in your abstract. It's not an introduction. It's not a teaser to your project. It should be a summary of your project. So it should have the problem that you're addressing, the methodology that you use to address the problem, a quick overview of results, why this is important. If it's missing any of those things, it's not really a complete abstract. Now, we are not going to check you for content, so you're on your honor to do your best with that. All we're going to look to do is to see, did you do this? So again, you're going to type the full title of your thesis or dissertation in all caps and bold. Hey, how about cap lock and bold? By your name as it appears in university records. No cap lock. Comma, your graduation date, which is again just the month and year. No italics. Like so. And then you leave this abstract heading where it is, and you make sure that this is double spaced and put in your abstract for either your thesis or your dissertation. Does not matter if it goes on to a second page, still does not get any page numbers. So remember, the abstract is the last page, unless you have a protocol approval statement that does not have any page numbers. Questions about that? Okay, let's move on. All right, so now let's imagine that this is the beginning of your actual text of your thesis. And what I want you to do is format this material first. So now we're on step 3 of the handout, format your thesis materials before you put in the table of contents, because the way that you format this will determine how easy it is to put together a table of contents. What I want you to do is to set this up so that Word will make the table of contents for you, and you will have to only do minor edits to it, and updating it is going to be super easy ever after. All right, so the first thing I want you to notice that is a little bit obnoxious for stuff is, first of all, ProQuest does absolutely insist on the double spacing of thesis and dissertation manuscripts. It's one of the few things that they consider non-negotiable. The obnoxious thing about that is that Word's defaults haven't been set to double space in a long, long time. So you need to go in and actually make sure that your stuff is double spaced. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to grab all of this text like so. And we're going to come over here to the paragraph section of the ribbon. So notice there's font and then paragraph. And we're going to click this tiny little arrow right here that says paragraph settings. And then we are going to pay attention to the spacing, okay? almost anytime something stupid is going on with your formatting, this spacing thing is always to blame. So here's what we're going to do to make sure that it's right. Spacing before, 0. Spacing after, also 0. Line spacing, double. Now you'll notice that depending on which version of Word, most of the time your line spacing is going to say multiple at either 1.5 or 1.08. So you want to come here to this box and do double and leave this unchecked and then do OK. So now all of your text looks like this. We roll through, we make sure that everything looks like it should. All right, this is all good. Okay, so now the key to getting Word to make your table of contents for you is to apply styles correctly to your headings and your subheadings. All right, so let's say, for example, your title is typically heading 1. So we're going to make this a heading 2. So I highlight it. I come here to this little bar that says styles and notice that there's one that says heading. Actually, let's go ahead and make it a heading 1. Heading 1 is not outrageous. So I click it there. All right, that's great, except look, it screwed up the formatting. So here's where, again, you're going to have to do a little bit of manual formatting yourself because look, it took the space away. That's dumb. All right, so how do I fix it? Highlight my thing. I'm going to click on the heading 1 style. Oops, I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to choose modify. And here you can make this heading style anything you want it to be, as long as the fonts that you choose are appropriate. So no crazy fonts here, right? No Comic Sans, no Papyrus, no Jokerman. This has to be academically appropriate fonts. Okay, so you can see that you can control the size, whether it's bold, what color it is. Probably for the most part, you want to stick to black in that particular case. But what we need to fix is that paragraph spacing again. So we come down here to the little format box in the left corner. And again, we're going to choose format paragraph. Remember, format paragraph is always your friend. Okay, and when we look at this little box, lo and behold, look at Word playing games with us. It's increased the spacing before to 24, and it's multiple at 1.15. And so what do we do about that? We, of course, turn it to 0 and double. Okay, then we click OK, and we click OK. And now our spacing is fixed. And the good news is having made that change one time, now this format will look right everywhere else in the document. Everywhere else we apply the heading 1, we'll never have to make those changes again. All right, so let's do it to your heading 2 while we're here. Let's take this little subheading, because we want our subheadings to appear in the table of contents. Highlight it. Let's click heading 2. And let's say I don't want it to be italicized. And again, it took away the freaking spacing. All right, so do the same thing we just did. Right click, modify, format, paragraph, take away the spacing, change this back to double. Okay, okay. Oh, and shoot, let me undo the italics. Modify, take off italics. Okay. All right, now once again, that style is set forever and I won't have to make those changes anymore. So now I'm going to look for other places in this front matter, or excuse me, in this thesis text where I can apply that formatting. So let's keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Okay, so this communicator control is the next heading 2. Okay, so now I just highlight it. I click heading 2, and it looks just like my other heading 2. Look how nice those match. Scrolling, scrolling. Let's imagine this is the next heading 1. Highlight that, click heading 1, looks great. And I thought there was another heading tucked in here somewhere. All right, I don't see it. Maybe we'll find it. Oh, here it is. Here it is. That one's a heading too. Okay. So now you've got your headings set up, and now the magic is about to happen. This is so freaking cool. Okay, so what you're going to do is now you're going to create the page for your table of contents. So I'm going to click down here in the bottom of the abstract, wherever your abstract ends. And I'm going to insert a page break, so that now I have a blank page in between my abstract page and the start of chapter 1. And then I'm going to come over here to references. And I'm going to come over here to table of contents. And you can choose any of the, well, you don't want to choose manual table. You want to choose one of these 2 automatic tables. I'm going to choose this one for the heck of it. And boom, look, there's a table of contents. That's pretty sweet. All right, now it's not formatted right because look, that part isn't double spaced. So I'm just going to put it, well, maybe I'm not going to do that. Let's take a look at the style at the style of this. Yeah, see again. And why? Like, why would it do this? Why would it put 1.08 on these and 1.15 somewhere else? So again, you know what to do. Change it to 0, change this to double. Let's make sure this is double while we're in here. I bet it isn't. Sure enough. Son of a gun. There we go. Now it looks right. Okay, so the magic of this though, right, is look, you didn't have to type any of those headings, and you didn't have to put in those dot leaders, and you didn't have to put in those page numbers. So the only thing that sucks now is those aren't the right pages. So now we're going to do the very last step, which is let's make your page numbers correct. All right, here's where it gets a little complicated because you're going to need to do section breaks. Follow along as best you can. And I also have this documented in the handout for you. And this is something, again, that Chloe, Lydia, and I are happy to help you work out, because if there is a problem with your page numbering, it's going to almost always be in this step that I'm about to show you. Oops, there are chat messages. The body text would be left aligned or justified. I encourage left aligned. Justified inserts extra spaces to try to make it even on the right-hand margin, and that creates weird spacing between your words. So I would make it left aligned. Unless your chair says otherwise. By the way, if your chair insists, of course you do what your chair wants you to do. Okay, by the way, I'm going to take a moment and change my table of contents to match the headings that I'm doing elsewhere. Not blue and bold. There we go. Now it looks like our other headings. Okay, so you know that we need these pages from the abstract back to have no page numbers. We need the table of contents to have a little Roman numeral down in the bottom. And we need page 1 of chapter 1 to have a number up here in the right-hand corner. You're going to use section breaks to do this. Okay, so again, I'm going to come back to the bottom of the abstract page. And I am going to, am I doing layouts? Yes, I am. Okay, so I come to layout and I come to breaks. Pay attention to this. It is important what kind of break you put in. You want this one, a next page section break. So skip these first 3. You want a next page section break and you pop it right there. Now, weirdly, it bumped the table of contents onto another page. We're not going to pay any attention to that for the moment. But what we are going to do is we're going to come down to the bottom of the table of contents page, and we're going to do that same step again. Layout, breaks, next page section break, pop that in there. Okay, let me show you how you can check to make sure you've done this right. Okay, so let me come now back to the abstract page. I'm going to double click in the bottom of it. See here, it says footer section 1. That's good. That means that's a section. Look at the table of contents page. Says section 2. And look at the first page of chapter 1. It says section 3. So yay, we have 3 different sections of the document. And now that means we can have the formatting change in between them. Now notice as we're sitting here looking at this, there's this little box right here that says same as previous. That is the thing that you need to undo in order to get these pages to do separate things. All right, so the very first thing that we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to see if I can get rid of this extra page without screwing up my section break. Did that move my TOC? No, come on, little TOC. I need you to scoot up. Why are you not scooting up? Don't be like this. There's nothing here. Get rid. There we go. All right. And I'm going to check. And yep, it's still in section 2. Okay. Remember, you can always check down here, and these little numbers will tell you whether it's right. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to put my very first page number here. And remember, we're going to put the page number in the center in little Roman numerals. Okay, so I'm going to insert a page number. Notice I'm in the header and footer section, and that can only be when this cursor is blinking and it says footer right there. So page number, it asks you, where do you want it? I want it at the bottom of the page, and I want it in the center. Okay, good, except that's a 6 instead of a little Roman numeral 6, which is what we need. So then I highlight the little 6 and I right click and do format page numbers. And notice here I can change the number format to little Roman numerals. And there it is. And we do want it to continue from the previous section, because even though these do not have page numbers, we pretend like they're counted like they do. So this is little Roman numeral 6. And now our only problem is, our stuff that's not supposed to have any page numbers does have page numbers. Okay, this is where we're going to get rid of that same as previous thing. Okay, so we need to break the same as previous in the header and the footer of section 2. And so look up here at your toolbar, okay, with the footer. So you've got your cursor in the footer. You look up here at the navigation thing and look at that little gray link to previous. Now, depending on what version of Word you're using, that might be highlighted in orange. Doesn't matter. It's in the same place either way. Unclick this. Okay, that's good. Now come up here and do it at the top too for good measure. Get rid of that. Okay, now watch what happens. Now I can come in here and delete this page number. And it doesn't go away over here. But look, scroll backwards. They're all gone. So that's pretty sweet. So there's your little Roman numeral where it's supposed to be. And now the last thing we have to do is to get the Arabic numerals in section 3 to go where they go. All right, so guess what? We do exactly the same thing. Stick our cursor in here, see the little same as previous, look up here on the ruler, get rid of link to previous. Put our cursor down here in the footer, See, it says same as previous. Look up here, get rid of that. Okay, now again, just like before, you can delete these page numbers and boom, those go away. And now we come up here to the first page of chapter 1 and we do this part again. Okay, the cursor is blinking in your header. You come over here to page number. This time I want it at the top of the page in the corner, like so. Okay, now I highlight the page number and format. And this time, I don't want it to continue from the previous section because I want it to start over again at 1. So I change this to start at 1. Okay. And now look, it's all right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And you may be like, yeah, but now my table of contents is all messed up because I don't have the right page numbers there. Oh, but watch the magic. All right, now I click the table of contents. You see this little thing that says update table. I'm going to click that and it says, do you want to just update the page numbers or everything? This is sweet because if your chair told you, hey, I want you to change one of those titles, you can click update the entire table and it'll change the page numbers and the headings. But in this case, the only thing we updated is the page numbers. So I'm going to update page numbers only. Okay, boom, all fixed. And that, my friend, is the end of your thesis formatting. That's pretty sweet. So what's great is like, so as long as you, so let's say you type after this, as long as you remember to put your styles on your headings after that, this will always work. And you'll always be able to come back here and just click update table and it will add all the new headings that you put and it'll add all the page numbers that they're on. And you will always be able to update your table of contents and never have to type any of that stuff manually. You can actually do that for your list of figures too, because if you notice that up here in the reference section, it gives you a way to insert captions on, let's say you have charts and graphs. So you can put captions on it and then look, there's an insert table of figures thing right next to it. So you could put another blank page after the table of contents, put captions on all of those images, just the way that we put styles on all of the headings. And then you can insert the table of figures and it knows what the titles are and it knows what pages they're on because you put captions on them. Okay, this is all I have to share with you today. Do you have questions about anything that you've seen? Or anything that is specific to your project? You happy with this, Trey?
I am very happy with this. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that it makes sense for you and that it's going to be helpful. Veronica, what about you? Any questions? Lacey, last call.
I think I'm set. The page numbers were what was killing me. So I think I got a handle on it now.
Okay, sweet. Well, if you have any issues, don't hesitate to be in touch with us. Chloe, Lydia, and I love to hear from you, and we love to make this process as pain-free as we possibly can. So with that, I will give you back the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come to our workshop, and we wish you great success as you get ready to defend your projects. Good night,
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.